There you go. Well, thank you very much. I know we have time constraint, and I am going to be very, very fast in some of the questions. And I know Roshni has also another meeting with the ministers. I just want to make sure you get there on time. And so why don't we do this is, let's have opening remarks, and then we get into Q&A session, and I'll bring in the audience also from that perspective. So Roshni, over to you.
I was just looking at a few data points, and it's phenomenal to see that today almost 800 million Indians are digitally connected, and that wasn't the case a while back. However, of that, only about 20 to 30 million women are in digital-first businesses. So there's a big gap there, and that's something that we have to work on. I also think that in India, what really drives our GDP is family businesses and the small and medium enterprises. And representation of women in both of those, cohorts for the country, there's much to be done. But I think that the way the country is connected today, it's much more of a leveling field than it was before. The kind of access to capital and startups and the ability for women to leverage that is much higher than it was before. It's hard, and as the topic is moonshot, it's going to take a lot more, but we're on the right path. I'm a eternal optimist, so we have to look at what can become and not what was.
Thank you, Roshni. And I have to say that among the largest Indian IT company, she is the only female chairperson and CEO driving the growth. And I'll come back to you as to what you're doing there. Kelly, over to you. You run a large professional corporate.
Thank you, Mukesh. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Everybody energized? I know it's getting late in the afternoon. How many of you did a nightcap last night? How many? Come on. Okay, I did. It's really, you're in Davos, so you're supposed to have a nightcap. It's an honor to be here today. It's an honor to be on the US ISPF board and focus a lot of my efforts on India. I feel like I've been here this week and I keep hearing and talking about India. And every conversation I'm in, earlier today I led a panel on economic empowerment, and a lot of the conversation that we were having on the panel was about our efforts in India. I was meeting with the World Bank. We talk about what's going on, what are you seeing in India? India feels like it is everywhere, and it's a topic of conversation. You say, why? Why are we talking about India so much? Well, I think it's kind of obvious. You talked about digital transformation. Goes hand in hand with India. Economic growth, hand in hand with India. Public-private partnership, you see that profoundly in India. And all of those things are about economic equality at the end of the day. So it's truly an honor to be here today to talk more about what's going on in India and dig a little bit deeper from our perspective. I've also had the great pleasure in my career, a very long career at this point, spending a lot of time in India. I was recently in Mumbai and in Delhi. I was also in Bangalore, where we're employing thousands and thousands of people, many women. In our workforce in Bangalore, we are more than 1/3 women in the workforce, approaching 25% in leadership positions. When we opened up Bangalore, thank you, we really were very intentional. I was very intentional about the representation, and we're going to grow tremendously. So anybody in technology, in financial services that wants to get involved in the digital transformation in India, let me know. We're hiring in Bangalore. So a lot going on in India. I'm really excited to be a part of it and talk a lot more about it today.
Thank you, Kelly. Nidhi?
I'm Neeti. Very nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm a tech entrepreneur, and I'm a co-founder at Automation Anywhere. We are an agentic AI enterprise platform. So as buzzwordy as you can get, we are there. Please come visit us if you can, but because I'd love to see more women in tech and meet more women in tech, and this is one of the ways to do so. You know, what I love about this moonshot is because I'm a little bit of an optimist, and I think we really do have a moonshot. If we didn't have tech at the spot where it is at today, we really don't have an opportunity to bridge the gender gap. I think the fact that AI is where it is allows us an opportunity to really bridge that time that would have taken otherwise. If we really push that effort as a world, as a society, as a business, as a country, as a partnership, then I think we can get there. If the data sets are as inclusive as we'd like to get, the AI products and solutions that come out will bridge that gap. So for me, it is a moonshot, and I think we're lucky to have it, and I don't want to lose at it.
Well, thank you very much. Let me ask you the first question, Neeti. You know, digital helps kind of bring equality, but we are also saying that it's becoming a divider from the perspective of opportunity. And now with the advent of AI, which is just exponentially moving forward itself, how do you basically ensure that women don't get left behind in the new era of AI?
You know, I don't think there's a silver bullet, but I do believe that it's a ground-up effort that is needed. I think the panel before us mentioned start at home. Start in your community, start in your organization, start in your country, et cetera, et cetera. And we've seen this made possible. So, you know, you can be what you can see. We've seen that happen. Microfinance changed what it was for women. It did. It changed it in India. And you see it time and time again. You know, I grew up in India. And if I look at I shouldn't date myself, but if I look at myself 40 years ago and today, I see the women much more empowered. Yes, there are pockets and there are rural areas that could be better done and so forth, but how quickly can we move that needle and keep moving it is the question. I'll give you a couple of quick examples. There's an organization we work with called Navjyoti, who's run by Dr. Kiran Bedi's foundation. They do a fantastic job of bringing entrepreneurship to women, entrepreneurship training to women. And we are also training them on digital inclusion and AI where we can. There's another organization, Karya, in India, who does a similar thing. And they help not just train women, but actually give them a way forward from an income perspective. And when you do that, it changes many things, in my opinion. Obviously, bridges the wealth gap, brings them into the digital economy, but unintended consequences. Marriage age is higher because the father's not willing to just let go of that income as easily in rural areas, et cetera, which as a society will uplift women and allow them then that opportunity to learn more, to do more, to become part of the system. But if I were to look at it from an individual perspective, I think we all bear that responsibility to pay it forward to any and every woman we meet, especially in areas like India, where we have 700 million plus women. And if we don't do it, the whole world will suffer for it.
Thank you, Neeti. Roshni, 220,000 employees, 30% are women at HCL. And as one of the leaders in women in every aspect, from business side, you're doing tremendous work on the social side, especially on the education. What more do you think we need to do to keep on driving that equality, both in the business and also in the community?
So if I just talk about business, I'm a chair of a tech company, but I'm not an engineer. So when 5 years ago I assumed the role, and you know, given that at least in the tech world, the average age seems to be coming down. It used to be 27, now it's 24. You know, the younger people were digital natives, now they're AI natives, you know, and the experience that they are having with AI in their personal lives and in their daily lives is so different than what they see in enterprise software. They come to work and they're like, what is this? You know, and but because I was reflecting as a non-engineer, one of the questions that I had 5 years ago was, you know, can an IT services and software company based in India actually create a workforce within the company servicing customers all over the world, but those people don't have to be engineers anymore? Because, and I'm also a trustee, and our family is a founder of 2 universities in India, which are in the top private engineering colleges. But between school to engineering college, you already see a big drop-off in women. And then from engineering college to the workplace, that's when the percentage of that 30% actually gets represented. So I started with 100 students. We designed a HCL SAT test, and these were students who just graduated from grade 12. Our only condition was that you should study math, and we designed a HCL SAT test, and we put them through the test, and 100 of these young engineers, non-engineers, sorry, just fresh graduates from school with absolutely no degree, joined HCL. And what was beautiful was that 50% of those were just young girls, because there was just no barrier of engineering, no barrier of STEM. And we put them through a training of 6 to 9 months. And after 5 years, today that number in our 220,000 is 10,000. And 5,000 of those are just young girls who are not STEM, and they're not young girls now, they're young women. And we've tied up with a few universities, including our own. So on Saturday and Sunday, they pursue their degrees. And it's not a BTech degree. It could be a BSc degree. It could be any degree. And Monday to Friday, they're working at HCL Tech. They start earning a salary as soon as they turn 18 and they join. In 6 to 9 months, they're ready to deliver to our customers. And they're with us 6 to 7 years. The attrition in that cohort is the shortest, is the least, and it's 50-50%. So my aspiration, at least in the business in HCL, is that over the next a few years, if even 50% of the new recruits that HCL hires can be this cohort, I call them tech Bs, which are not engineers, we can push the envelope of getting more women into the workplace, because we've removed a bias, which was STEM. Yeah.
Kelly, you have been going back and forth to India, and you have seen in the U.S., especially in the entrepreneurship, women are really coming forward. And what is behind that momentum when you see more and more women entrepreneurs coming in the U.S. environment, and how can we leverage that and see we can translate that to the Indian environment also?
Yeah, this is a global issue for sure, and it's about more women getting into the digital economy, more women entrepreneurs getting the self-confidence and the skills and the capital to enter and to have their own businesses and to hire people. And I firmly believe, as do so many, the more women that you get into positions where they're owning a business in particular, the more they give back to the community. We know this. They give to their families. They raise up the entire community. So I believe, and as the founder and the chair of our foundation at Visa, that's my focus. I focus on women entrepreneurs around the world and in India, to bring them into the workforce, to give them what they need, and then enable them and empower them. Now, in India specifically, and I could talk a lot about the US, but in India specifically, it's a wonderful place because of the digital public infrastructure. India has done an amazing job in terms of digitizing data and identification and payments. It's wonderful. Access. The Indians are accessing digital payments across the country. It's fabulous. Get a bank account for the first time. It's your entree into the world of economic growth. Phenomenal. However, a lot of women, once they get there and get the account, don't use it, don't do much with it. So access alone is not the answer. It's access to begin. So we begin by bringing women to the digital economy, and then we think about women who want to start their own business as a way to help their families and their communities thrive. What do they need specifically? Women get a very small percentage of venture capital investment, 0.2%. A lot of reasons I could talk to you about why that is and why we need to change it. In India, it's a little bit better, 0.3%. Still, how tiny is that? We're 50% of the population, we're getting 0.3%. It's not right. So what do we do about that? Well, we really focus on making sure that women have access to capital. So the way that we run our foundation is, one, we give grants, and I can talk more about that. But I'm very proud of the fact that we also invest. We invest in women-owned venture funds. And when we invest in a women-owned fund, that fund then invests in women businesses, and we find great women-run funds around the world. We've invested almost $100 million in them. And then what happens is, because the Visa brand, so you might be in the early stages of starting a fund, and I meet you and we talk and I think you've got it, and I don't bring the bias that a lot of people bring to venture capital investing. And I say, okay, I'm gonna give you money, I'm gonna invest in you. And guess what? You get to use the Visa brand, one of the best known brands in the world, when you go out and seek other investors. So the amplification, you then go raise hundreds of millions of dollars because I get you started, use the brand, and then you are empowering how many other women down the chain. It has a multiplier effect, which is a wonderful thing. And whenever I talk about anything, including how we run the foundation, there's a business case, right? There's a business case. When I invest in the great women that I'm investing in venture capital these days, I'm running around 19% returns. So when I get 19% returns from women through that chain, I keep investing in more women. So it's a really wonderful model that we have, and there's one fund in particular that's in India called Elevar Equity, and I gave them about $5 million. I helped 40 women entrepreneurs and hire more, and then they're bringing the returns to me, and then we keep turning it over. But I really like when I hire women venture funds, they're focusing on women businesses in India to enable and empower them through capital.
Thank you. If you look at a couple of years ago, India sent this mission to the Mars successfully, and the cost of that overall mission was less than the movie Gravity, which was made about the Mars. But more fascinating is the picture which was taken once it was successful in the control room. Almost 70% were women driving the whole mission. So we did an analysis. When you look at all those women, 70%, not a single one was from IITs. These are premier, they came from B cities and second-tier cities and got the engineering capability and learning from that. So what it shows is that if you provide an opportunity to women, regardless of it's IIT or not an IIT, they can drive their way to success in a very efficient and effective manner. So Niti, coming to you, you are in the AI space, you are in the automation anywhere. STEM does become critical, and doesn't have to be, girls don't have to go just to IITs, they can go anywhere and drive the change. What are your perspectives?
So a little bit like Roshni, we were 4 founders when we started Automation Anywhere. I was the only non-engineer. So I don't think it's a requirement at all. I think your curiosity, your capacity for learning, your wanting to learn, and then embracing the opportunities that may or may not fall behind you, or trying to create those opportunities. Those are all important, of course. There are success stories everywhere. The question is, can we make it systemic? Can we make it scalable? Can we inspire these young girls, like HCL is doing maybe, to say, you know what, if you are STEM oriented, great, we've got you, we're behind you, we're going to make it happen. If you're not STEM oriented, we got you, we're behind you, we can make it happen. The point is, we're trying to bring more women into this next generation of frontier technologies. We happen to be in the age of AI, we happen to be in the age of automation, and they need to be part of the equation. Doesn't matter what you're studying, what you're not. So I think that's it didn't stop me. I don't think it should stop anybody else.
Well said, thank you. Roshni, when you have presence in definitely metropolitan areas, but you also now moved into tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities. And there's a cultural challenges there because women are not seen so much in the tech world. How do you inspire them? How do you scale that, bringing women from these tier 3 cities into a global organization such as HCL?
So, Mukesh, there was something Shiv Nadar, who's the founder of HCL, used to always say, and it's from that film, A Field of Dreams. He said, if you build it, they will come. So I remember, he retired 5 years ago, but about 10 years ago, everybody was growing in Bangalore and Chennai and Noida and Hyderabad, which is where all IT or anything to do with tech grows. And he, at that time, he told us that, why don't you just go and open in tier 2 locations? So I said, what kind of locations? And he's like, where you would not expect tech talent. So I was like, so which city? And he said, Lucknow. I was like, Lucknow? And, and it's amazing that in India, to not only have a first mover advantage, but to have an only mover advantage. And today we're in Lucknow and we're 15,000. And it's a campus. And over there, Mukesh, it's amazing because there's no other company. I mean, they've got Medanta and then they've got other industries. But because there's no other tech company, over there, our ratios of women is higher. And many are from IIT Kanpur. Many might be from Banaras Hind. They're from good universities. They live closer to home. It's safer. They can do night shifts. Traffic is less. Quality of life, it's not as buzzing as a Delhi city, but culturally it presents itself with unique opportunities. So today now we've got 4 campuses. We've got Vijayawada, we've got Lucknow, we've got Madurai, and we've got Nagpur. And all of these are anywhere between 8,000 to 15,000. Our ratios of women are better, and generally even the attendance, even though there was work from home, but people like coming to work. So culturally, you get up in the morning and you go to work, and these small towns have these certain nuances, which, a Bangalore and a Hyderabad is like California, so I think the thing with India is I think you need to go there. It's otherwise you're not going to be able to experience some of that local flavor. Yeah.
And probably the attrition is lower also.
Yes. And that's where our Tech B numbers are the highest as well.
Interesting. Kelly, one thing I saw when the multinationals move in to a newer geography, and I saw that like when the multinational banks came to India, they put a lot of pressure on the Indian banks to raise the bar on providing services. And when a lot of US companies moved in, they set the standards on hiring of women, transparency, governance. So from Visa's perspective, what are you doing to drive towards that moonshot in India?
Yeah, thank you, Mukesh. And mental note, Lucknow. Lucknow. I've been there. It's fabulous. That's the first place I ever went and actually did like Bollywood dancing. I was taught that, and it was like, yeah, it was very, very fun. No wonder I like going to India so much. But being a large multinational and working in India, it's an important responsibility that you have when you come into a country. Respect the culture, but drive what you bring to the party. What you're good at, you bring to the community, and you really do focus on that. So, for us, having great partnerships with the government, what I talked about earlier, public-private partnership, as we think about the good that we can do in the community and uplift. And for us, Indian citizens being in the digital economy is a very good thing. I work for Visa. We don't like cash. Same thing with the Indian government. We don't like cash, and so there's a better way. So when we come into the country, we think about what benefits we can bring, and what Visa is great at is driving trust. Visa is great at cybersecurity. We spent $11 billion in the past couple of years, investing in cybersecurity. We avoided $40 billion worth of fraud in the payments ecosystem last year. This is what we're good at, and so this is what we bring when we think about different ways of paying and be paid. What can we bring? When it comes to our workforce, and we think about, and I think about this, I'm also the head of HR, and bringing in the capabilities, and I love how you talked about it earlier, because we're also running similar programs, and they're very successful, particularly with women who may have gotten a degree in something different, women who may have even pursued a different career. I have a woman we have a program where it's like, you want to change, you want to go into coding or something in the tech world. I have a woman, she was a pharmacist. She went to school to become a pharmacist, and she's like, you know what, pharmacy is not the future, but I don't want to go back to college. Visa, you have a program, you bring me in, you pay me, and we are great at cybersecurity. We're great at software engineering. We're great at, and I am a firm believer as well that you don't have to have that formalized education. We all need to come away from that past where, when I went to school, it was like, you get to school and you get a degree in finance, or I happen to be a lawyer, you go get, you like lawyers, right?
I love
Okay,
that.
okay, just
Very
saying.
important.
I don't always tell people that, by the way, but
A good lawyer and a good doctor. Very important.
Very good to have in your life. But we're having great success in thinking about alternative education and thinking about our responsibility. Again, when we're working in any country, I feel very strongly, have an obligation to uplift that society and be very thoughtful about that. And running the foundation, I make the decisions about a lot of that. But how we run our workforce, I make the decisions about that too. And we've been very intentional. We'll continue to be intentional here. And we're going to double in size soon, maybe in Lucknow. Or we'll talk later. Do programs together, but that's how we think about it. But again, it starts fundamentally with public-private partnership, and we also spend a lot of time with the Indian government. We launched a new program. This isn't necessarily benefiting me, but it's benefiting India, where the Prime Minister is really focused on tourism, bringing tourists into India. So we meet and we talk about the fact where we're a global network. When people travel, they're using our products. We have a lot of interesting data about why people travel, where they go, how they spend, what they like to do. We'll share that data with you to help you aspire to your goals in partnership with us. We also launched a program where we're training 20,000 to begin young people in tourism skills, so that when people like me come to visit India for vacation, not for work, which I'm hoping to do soon, you've got the people trained up, and we invest in that training alongside the government, a really strong public-private partnership example.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to add something there, just from a tech perspective. The other good thing, I think, where we are right now is tech is becoming more and more accessible. A lot of tech is now low-code, no-code, and that's actually a great opportunity for reskilling and upskilling. So people don't have to kind of change careers necessarily. They can augment careers, they can transition careers, they can have two careers. They can, be part of the gig economy as well as the tech economy. So just the fact that these tools are now available to learn and to digitize, so to speak, skilling, allows us that opportunity. And I think India should embrace that opportunity. I think women should embrace that opportunity, because it's very hard for a woman, just in general, doesn't matter what her age, to actually put everything on hold for 2 years and go train on a new thing that she wants to train on. It's just very, very hard. And so having that ability to do so in bite-sized learning, low code, no code, etc., can really help. And I think that's not being touted enough, and it's not being pushed enough, and we should.
Absolutely. I know Roshni has to rush to the minister meeting. My question to you before you leave is, your learnings on running a large organization, and what word of wisdom you want to part talking about the India Moonshot on women equality.
Oh my God, I'm still so young in my journey. I have been at HCL for 17 years, although in this role for 5, so it's been a little longer than a minute. But and I was a film student, working at Sky News as a news producer, and then I was told by my father, please do something normal. And I was like, what's normal? He said business school. I was like, okay. And that's how I kind of made my way into HCL after business school. But I think if you're in the room, you're already there. It's really important. I'm always in a room. I'm often always the only one, not only by gender, but also by age. And I get asked the age question a lot more than the gender. Oh my God, you're so young, you know, more than the, so I think it's just, if you're in the room, you're there. You've earned yourself to be there. That's
Oh, well said, Roshni. Well, thank you. Let's continue. I think what I'd like to do is basically open the forum for Q&A. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. One in the back there. Yes.
I can take a little bit of it. I don't think we have ever made progress in history without some level of change happening systemically. And that includes certain jobs being obsolete or certain jobs being taken away and certain jobs morphing. I'm maybe again dating myself, but saying, there was no woman or man put on earth to transfer data from Excel to another application. That's just not our X factor. Automation and AI should do things like that. And we should do better things. And that's been the truth across all industrial revolutions. We don't drive horses anymore. We, don't have telephone operators that basically just connect people and listen into conversations. Those are how shall I say, rungs of progress that we just have to go through. Now, what we can do better, because we've been through history and because we've been through 3 industrial revolutions before us, is we can help transition people a little bit less disruptively. So the reskilling programs, the upskilling programs, looking at inclusion right from the get-go, making sure AI has guardrails, making sure we're talking about those guardrails, making sure data is inclusive. In fact, I think, it's a side topic, but I'll mention it, is that one of the ways we can make data more inclusive is by using AI, because we can substitute real data with non-real data, at least till we get the real data. But we couldn't have done it without AI. So in my opinion, if we believe that these technologies and this progress will lead to better society in the long term, then all we need to do is make sure that we transition well, we're very empathetic to it, we're very understanding of it, we're very conscious of it, and making clear but sustainable goals towards it. So in my opinion, jobs are not getting replaced. This is just progress. And jobs that we are not meant to do, we'll do much better jobs. We'll do much more creative jobs that we haven't even thought about.
And who do you think would be, whose job it is to help smooth the transfer? Is it a government regulator or everyday people or corporates? Who do you think should bear the responsibilities?
It's our world. It's every one of us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Agree.
Yes, ma'am. By the time you get the microphone, let me ask Kelly a follow-up question. I talked to you about how international companies raise the bar, bring in more governance transparency. You're learning from India to take it back to Visa International in the US. Where do you think US companies can learn from India and bring that change?
I mean, I think in so many ways, again, I gave you some examples of where India is really excelling in the world, and I think there's always so much that we can share between us. I think that we do a very good job of doing that. Our governments do work closely together, and we're constantly sharing. And the corporates and corporate executives like myself, that have a presence in India, we don't just talk about India. Like we go to India to experience it firsthand because we're so impressed with some digital public infrastructure, like I talked about, is a wonderful phenomenon, and it's something that should be replicated, and we want to go and learn about it and participate in it. So I think it's definitely a two-way street, but like I said, there's things that American companies do well that we bring and share. Cybersecurity is one of the things I talked about, for example, and then all the great things that come from India. So it is really a priority for us because we really do want that deep partnership and work together.
Thank you, Kelly. Ma'am.
Hi, thank you so much for your talk. It's very interesting. What I found really interesting is actually there was a lot of focus on STEM, a lot of focus on getting digital literacy there. What I didn't hear so much of was how, when you talked about microfinancing the women, which is amazing because I try and encourage that as well. But what I didn't hear so much about, and which is I'm an advocate of, is teaching women and children finance.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
So they're not going to get anywhere without finance. So yes, doctors are important, lawyers are important, but I think accountants are even more important.
I agree, and I'm sorry that I glossed over that, but that is fundamental to what we do with our partners when I talk about education and training. Basic finance. I mean, how are you going to succeed as an entrepreneur or almost at anything if you don't understand basic finances? So we have a lot of investments and a lot of programs that begin with that as fundamental, and we deliver it through our partners in places around the world in a very digestible way. And I talk about this, and I come from consumer products, so I'm always based on consumer insight. What does that user need? Let's not start here. Let's start there. And if they have a phone and we can get it in an app that they can do some of the time when they have a moment, when they're not doing other things in their lives, but really digest it and repeat it, and it actually drives impact because I measure that. Hugely important to help the women entrepreneurs I was talking about. But you're raising another really good point, and I've been on several panels about financial empowerment and venture investing in particular, which I think is a huge unlock for women-owned businesses, and we really need to change the game there. We need more women in finance. Like you, more women and it's a world, sometimes, Visa itself is sort of a financial services technology hybrid. That's what we are. Like, we run the software and the hardware that drives the transactions in millions of a second around the world all day long. We're financial services, though, that is fueled by technology. When I joined 11 years ago, there weren't a lot of women, right? It was just, but we are really intentional about that and making sure that we're doing that. And I have programs where I'm providing scholarships to women to make sure they get the degree of their choice, because maybe they can't afford that, but they have the potential. So we really need to look at the whole ecosystem when it comes to financials and women, and get more women in banking.
And not only that, I think that it should begin from much younger. So I'm more empowered in trying to teach children financial literacy.
Yes.
I mean, my son, he's 10 and he's an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So I think if it began from a younger age at school, by the time they get to an older age, women.
You're absolutely right. And we have programs, and we teach basic finance with digital comic books or football or soccer, depending on the country you're from. And we teach financial literacy, again, meeting them where they are, what they're ready to receive, what they want to do. They want a game. So why can't I teach them financial literacy in a video game? That's the kind of programs that we roll out as well. So thank you.
I'll add something I learned over the last 2 days, which I didn't know before, was in 5 years' time, by 2030, 50% of the world's wealth will be controlled by women. And that's now, right?
Yes.
So your point is really well taken. I think if we are controlling the wealth, we better know how to take care of it. But more importantly, I would ask every one of you, we think it's not natural or easy for us to understand finance, maybe because we are not exposed to it, et cetera, et cetera. But the women I meet, I always tell them, I don't know a mother who has never stretched a dollar. I just don't know that. And to me, that's finance. That's understanding where to put your money, how to put your money, how to make it work, and what to do with it. But to your point, the formal education, the formal literacy of finance is super important, and it's even more important in India, where most of the wealth will grow over the next 2 decades. So your point is really well taken.
Thank you. Can somebody pass the microphone there? But let me just ask Kelly a question while you get the microphone. Kelly, we're talking about Equality Moonshot. When you look at India, I'm now talking from a political leadership perspective. You have a country's president who's a woman. India's Speaker of the House once was a woman. The opposition leader was a woman. And it also had once the longest serving prime minister as a woman. But in the US, we failed to elect women as a president. Any thoughts?
I think there are a lot of women in government in the United States and a lot of very prestigious positions as well. And we will keep striving for the presidency. It's just a matter of time. But I feel very good about representation of women in high levels of government and business. Now, we still have a ways to go. We have a ways to go around the world for sure. But we continue to work on it. I'm really optimistic that we'll all get to the rightful place.
Thank you. Ma'am, there's a question.
Hi, Mukesh. Thanks so much for accepting. It's not so much a question, but can I make 2 public service announcements, 2 PSAs? Number one, we are actually launching, so for the ladies here and gentlemen who want to collaborate, there's a program on digital financial literacy that we will be announcing through our foundation on March 8th. So you get a sneak preview. And the second public service announcement is we have yesterday announced, with Kelly on the panel, we announced the launch of the first of its kind Women in Investing Fellowship that the venture fund that I run is going to be sponsoring. So again, in large part because of funding made available by CGEF, which is very generously supported by Visa. So I wanted all of you to know that there are these programs. If you want to, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, please reach out to her. Niti, a question for you. Entrepreneur, building a company in a cutting-edge technology environment, dealing with large companies where the decision maker tends to be mainly male. And how do you manage the risk management there? Because a lot of the time decisions are made not on functionality, not on price, but I want to de-risk myself in this decision, and typically they would go to a known brand like IBM or HP. You are an upcoming brand. How do you manage that?
One, you have a kick-ass product, but it is tough. Sometimes, I think Roshni mentioned, I'm sure you went through it as well, Kelly. You're the only woman in the room many, many times. I mean, I think each one of you has probably been there. I think it's not to let that get in your head or let it be the reason. I am a little bit a dog with a bone, I guess, in some ways. So if you want something good enough or hard enough or well enough, then you go after it, and hopefully the voice of reason will prevail. Sometimes being a smaller or an upcoming organization, they do understand that you are hungry, number one. Number two, again, in many cases, we are a product that is, for example, in Automation Anywhere's case, with the AI and automation, a lot of agentic AI is based on their own platform. So for example, the big, I won't name names, but the big organizations will have agentic AI that works for them. Automation Anywhere is application agnostic. So there are certain things like that you can really bring to the table as a up and coming technology. That is a huge differentiator, and it's a big advantage for every business that uses it. One way that I often talk to male leaders or female leaders in a way is to say, you want to choose a technology that will serve your organization well, and nothing else should matter. And just look at that, and that's the way you go forward, right? So in our case, our application will work with any software that you have. It'll work with any software that you will get 5 years from now, and it'll work with any software that you had from a legacy. So just that in itself is a differentiator and is a way to, for the business to understand the value that we bring, of course. We are only an agentic AI process automation platform, and we're not diversified, so that gives us a specialization and learning and understanding that we bring to the table. But don't let it get, no matter what you're selling or what your company is doing, don't let it get in the way of what they are thinking. It's what you're thinking that matters.
And how do you manage perception? Because if a male leader goes aggressively, is seen differently than a female leader goes in the same manner.
Yeah, they'll probably, the light bulb will come on, hopefully sometime in their life. But it is what it is, right? Like, we've all been there. Unfortunately, the biases are there. I think, again, I'm an optimist. In the last 10 years, so when I started Automation Anywhere, we started in 2003. It's 21 years, and if I look at the first 5 years and I look at the last 5 years, I think the climate has improved. It has changed. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It's nowhere near where it's needed. But I do see awareness, and I do see people trying, if not anything else. But it's a journey. It's tough. We have to keep talking about it. We have to keep educating it. And like I tell Rupa, this is just a fantastic forum, because not only do you see like-minded women, you're able to engage and network and talk, but it would be great to have all the women on this side and all the men on that side, so that becomes a two-way conversation on learning from each other versus an echo chamber.
Great, thank you. Let me ask Kelly, when you look at India's Equality Moonshot, how do you envision that going forward? What would be that moonshot?
I think the moonshot in India and anywhere should be 50% representation in every level, in every job, in every industry around the world. That's where we deserve to be. That's, it shouldn't even be called a moonshot. It should be called our reality. But that's where we should go. We should go there as quickly as we can. Again, I think we're very optimistic. In my job, I have been in corporate work for a long, long time, and I am so impressed with the young women that I meet. I meet them, and they're confident, and they're smart, and they have a voice. These parents are raising these kids well, because I found it difficult to do what a young woman right out of college will do with me right now. She'll come right to me and be like, okay, I got a lot of hard questions for you right now. I'm like, bring them, sister. Things are changing. And I think, as I sit here, it gives me great confidence that as women find their voice and women support women, that it's just a matter of time before we're in the leadership positions that we deserve, and we're well on our way.
Thank you, Kelly. Niti?
No, what she said.
Okay.
It's global. It's global.
It is global. So I'm being told to close the session. Obviously, what you're seeing is change for the positive. Things are moving in the right direction. We still have a long way to go. Overcome some of the impediment culturally, politically. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the audience for taking the time. We value your feedback and comments. Once again, thank you, and a round of applause for the panelists here.